Hello everyone, this is Myungjo from Korean Poet Society. Today I'm going to introduce the Prelude written by poet Yoon Dong-ju. I'm going to read this poem and you can read this image in the next of me here. So I'm going to read it. Wishing not to have so much as a speck of shame toward heaven until the day I die. I suffered ever when the wind stirred the leaves. With my heart singing to the stars, I sure love all things that are dying, and I must walk the road that has been given to me. Tonight, again, the stars are brushed by the wind. How was it? Wasn't it impressive? Then I'm going to analyze this poem, but before that, I believe it is important to know the poet. So now I'm going to tell you about poet Yoon Dong-ju. Poet Yoon Dong-ju was born on December 30, 1917. When he was a middle school student in 1936, Japan forced Korean students to do worship at the shrine, which was not appropriate for the Christian doctrine and Christian school named Sungshir학교, where Yoon Dong-ju attended. Since he and his friends complained of it, they expelled the school. Then in 1938, when he was 22 years old, he entered Seoul 연희 전문 학교, where Japanese abhorred because it was the center of independence movement. Then in 1941, when he graduated from the school, he tried to publish his collection of poems, but he couldn't. This book is what I am introducing now. After graduating the school, to be highly educated, he and his friend tried to study abroad in Japan. However, to study in Japan, they were compelled to change their names into Japanese names. Related to this, he wrote another poem in which he reflects himself defeated to the reality. Anyway, during studying abroad in Japan, he was arrested for independence movement in 1943 and was sentenced in 1944 to 2 years imprisonment. And unfortunately, in February 1945, 6 months before independence, he passed away in jail when he was only 29 years old. There are many assumptions with the reason why he passed away, but according to the friend present with Yoon Dong-ju, the Japanese injected some shots, so the most agreed reason is medical experiment on a living body. Yoon Dong-ju is one of Korea's most favorite poets. As an intellectual during Japanese colonization period, he incessantly inspected and felt ashamed at himself that couldn't work actively at independence. Moreover, without betraying, he kept self-reflect himself, hoping for his life of no shame. He expressed his distress and worries through his poems written by beautiful Korean. Such aspects make us love poet Yoon Dong-ju. Besides that, Koreans love Yoon Dong-ju so much that there is a movie called Dong-ju that covered his life. If you enjoy watching movies, I recommend you to watch this movie. Unfortunately, the book of Yoon Dong-ju's poems was published after he passed away. The name of the book is Sky, Wind, Star, and Poem. It consists of 77 poems written by Yoon Dong-ju. He wanted to publish it as a celebration of graduation, but he couldn't, like what I said before. His representative poems are Confession, which he wrote after changing his name into Japanese names, as also I mentioned before, and the poem written easy, which he inflects himself, and lastly Prelude, which I'm going to introduce to you. Now I'm going to analyze the poem Prelude by line. If you see the right side of the poem, there is a Korean version of the poem Prelude, and since I want to show you the original version of the poem, so I put it there. If you could read Korean, I would recommend you to read it. Anyway, I want to introduce one feature of the poem prior to analyzing. Many people divide this poem into three parts, which is past, future, and present. So we could feel the tense of the poem is shifting. And let's start to analyze the poem. And let me read the first part, which is past. Wishing not to have so much as a speck of shame toward heaven until the day I die. I suffered even when the wind stirred the leaves. In this part, we need to know the meaning of the word heaven and wind. Since he has to be honorable to heaven, heaven is a criterion of moral judgment. The word wind is a factor that makes him embarrassed, so it means his internal conflict. In this part, he confides that in the past, he tried to live guiltless life incessantly, inspecting himself and suffering even minor things. Next part is future, and also I will read first. With my heart singing to the stars, I shall love all things that are dying, and I must walk the road that has been given to me. In this part, we need to know the meaning of the word star, and for him, the stars mean hope, so it confronts with the word wind. In this part, he shows his determination of his future life, showing endless compassion and love for all living things. Next part is present. And also I will read first as before. Tonight, again, the stars are brushed by the wind. In this part, we can see the word wind, which was also in the part past. We need to know the similarity and difference with these two words. This in the word wind in this present part also means trouble to him, like the wind in the past part. The word wind in the present means hardship from circumstances like the Japanese colonial era. And in this part, he is showing his situation through the relationship of night, star, and wind. Moreover, he expresses his will of pure life without shame. This is all about the poem, and in conclusion, I would organize the meanings of important words. First, the word heaven and stars, which are in yellow box, mean the ideal that the poet pursued, and they are positive ones. And wind tonight, and those words mean reality that he is living in, and they are negative ones and orders to him. So the words in yellow boxes and words in blue boxes have opposite meanings. To sum up, he is showing his resolution to keep his innocence despite tough situation. This is all about the poem. How was my explanation? I hope you could understand well. And also, it was my pleasure to introduce such a famous and wonderful poet who I have longed for. Also, I hope you could enjoy the poem Prelude and the poet Dongju and his story. And lastly, I wish you could learn more through this video. If you like this video, then please like and subscribe. And thank you everyone. Let's see you later. Bye bye.